Welcome to another episode of the Office Hours Podcast with Professor Brad Perkins. Today we are on the road, obviously. We are not in the studio. We are in Austin, Texas at the Mechanical Contractors Association of America National Convention. I brought a few students with me. Three of my students, the ones with me, just got national scholarships. We're going to talk about that. I have Mark Rogers, MCAA personified, been around a long time. I would like him to introduce himself, and we'll kind of get rolling, talk about the convention.
Excellent, thank you. I am Mark Rogers. I am a union steam fitter out of Local 420 in Philadelphia, and started Westchester Mechanical Contractors out of the basement of my house in 1996, and worked my way up, got involved with MCAA. And we'll talk about a lot of this, but I'm currently still working at my company. We do work in the Philadelphia area, and we primarily focus on educational and healthcare work.
Okay, all right, and past president.
Yes, I was past president. I was a president of MCAA nationally back in 2011 already, 14 years ago. I know I look so young, right?
I know it's such a surprise. I get that too a lot, right? Are you a student or what? No. Yeah, these guys are like, yeah, no.
Well, that's why I shave my head, because you don't want to see the gray coming in. It makes me look much younger.
Those are facts. Those are facts right there. Starts to go gray, just shave it off.
Exactly.
Just shave it off. All right, here I'm going to have the students introduce. If you want to start, Jaden.
Yeah. My name is Jaden Doebelin. I'm a senior studying construction engineering. I am the mechanical emphasis route. So after college, I'm going to Virginia. I got a job with a mechanical contractor and going that route.
All right. And this year, you got the Patriot Scholarship.
Yep. I was very fortunate enough to receive it for the second time. So got the DeWalt Patriot Scholarship and has built relationships with DeWalt last year and this year, and just really grateful to receive that.
All right, next.
I'm Daniel Kellen. I'm also a construction engineering student at Iowa State with mechanical emphasis. And I recently worked with Harris Company out of the Twin Cities, who's an MCAA contractor, and I'm fortunate enough to be working for him full-time after graduation this year. So.
And which scholarship did you get? Wasn't it the past president scholarship, though?
Yeah. I think it was the Armistead scholarship.
Yes, there we go.
Yep.
Okay.
So I actually followed Bob Armistead as MCAA president. He was president the year I was. Bob, fantastic gentleman. God rest his soul. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he was. That was a fact. All right.
I'm Olivia. I am also studying construction engineering with a mechanical systems emphasis, and I'm working for ASCO this summer, so that'll be fun. It's my first kind of like dabble in the mechanical contracting world, and I won the Women in Mechanical Industry scholarship. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah,
what a great group of people.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that. That'll be great.
Well, I'll tell you what. Okay, I want to just a quick note as an advisor. Getting national scholarships like this is such a big deal for our chapter. If we rewind the clock to when I started this in 2007, there was like 4 national scholarships, and we did not ever win any of them. And the students were a lot of times they'll be like, hey, did you fill out the scholarship stuff? They're like, why? But that is one thing that has definitely progressed over the years, is that with all the scholarships, it attracts more students. And then, we go to convention, and it's like, hey, this is why you need to get active. This is why you need to be in cabinet. This is why you need to go to the meetings and stuff, because all of these scholarships are, they are serious money.
They've actually, after I was done being MCAA president in 2012, when I was done, a year after that, I actually took over the presidency of the then foundation, which was MSurf, which is John R. Gentili, our former CEO. We renamed the foundation after him. And you're correct. I remember being on stage on Wednesday mornings at this convention each year, awarding 2, maybe 3 scholarships. I think they're up to probably 15 or 20 of them right now, which is great. And the involvement of the students and chapters like yourself, getting you here and meeting with the contractors, meeting with some of the manufacturer suppliers that are out there having their exhibit this morning, is just an incredible opportunity for everybody.
All right, and obviously I'm biased, but my observation, because I talk to all the other faculty, and we've got we've got AGC and we've got NECA and we've got DBIA and all the other student orgs, and none of them with regards to the experience that the students have at convention, with regards to scholarships. I mean, the other associations do a good job. But I will say that it's easier for me to recruit, and I think we've seen that in our numbers of our chapter. Like back when I started, I had like 2 students here most years. Now we're bringing 7 this year, and it definitely helps our chapter grow. And that's what I'm saying is this is the benefit of being in an association like this. And having an association, and once again, I'm gonna plug you guys for this, because remember back those years, back in 2000 and 2006, 2007, 2008. Even back then, we go to the convention, and what's one of the things that the convention's talking about? How do we get more people? How do we get more people? How do we get more young people interested in our discipline, our trade, our industry? And MCA was having the convention back then, and they really, like I said, I'm going to credit them on this. They stepped up their game. They're like, okay, what we're doing is okay, but we need to do more. And now, how many students are here at this convention? Like 130?
Yes, there's a significant number, and you're correct. There was back around that time, it was, hey, we were all really happy to have all these new student chapters at many of the universities around the country, but it wasn't being taken advantage of. And I think that the leadership at MCAA, in conjunction with the people on the foundation, and then also with the career development committee, we made a concerted effort to really make this event. We want you here, and not only we want you here, we want you to come work with us, because very early on, many of the students that came here weren't necessarily headed to jobs with MCAA members. And we spend, it's well over $1 million a year between the foundation and MCAA to support the student chapters and to get the student chapter summit and get all of you here, the Great Futures Forum. And that was something that we said we really need a conscious effort. I mean, let's face it, we all want to get every one of you working with our organizations. Your youth, your energy, your expertise, your technology is far greater than a lot of us, old people that maybe not are IT challenged.
Yeah.
And now you've got you're bringing AI into our world. We need young people that have grown up with a phone in their hand, right? That's how they learn, right? Right? I mean, when my kids were born, they got their phones when they were maybe 13, 14, 15. You guys were born with them. You came out with them, right?
and I'm still bitter about getting rid of my flip phone. I held on to that damn thing right up until they couldn't get any parts for it. Yeah. But no, you're right. You're right, and and that's what I'm saying is that's very forward looking. When it's like, okay, we see this issue. How do we fix it? How do we get the jump? Because here, something that, and I know this when I'm preaching to the choir, but for people maybe watching this, I get large general contractors coming in all the time, and they are like, "Hey, we'll hire your mechanical students." I won't say which ones, but just this last career fair, I had 2 different. These are like monstrous companies, some of the biggest contractors on the planet. And they're like, hey, just tell your mechanical students they've got a standing job offer with us. Just tell us they're mechanical and, they're in the program and we'd love to hire them. And that's really, and that's what I'm going to credit MCAA for doing is they realize, it's not Westchester Mechanical competing against Harris for talent. No, it's all of you against all the other trades, because we have, and I wish I could change this, but all of the advisors, we're all saying the same thing. A lot of times it's a hard sell. Like, we're in engineering, and we're almost every semester at graduation, we are at 100% placed. There's very rarely someone graduates from Iowa State in construction engineering and doesn't have a job right then. Well, we have the highest placement rate in engineering, and yet we've got 230 students. aerospace, I'll just pick on aerospace a little because I enjoy that, right? Aerospace, they have way more students, and yet their placement rate at graduation is between 50 and 60%. And for faculty, we're like, what is up here? I mean, the the numbers are great, but maybe a lot of engineering students don't think construction is truly an engineering profession. I know that. I was just talking to he's a little bit newer, the chapter advisor for Maryland. I can't think of his name. I apologize for that, but anyway, they're an engineering program, and he's saying the same thing. Man, it's hard getting mechanical engineering students interested in this.
Yeah, so I mean, the GCs and the CMs have done a really good job of going in, and a lot of the reason is because they are from a volume perspective a lot bigger, and they need a lot more bodies to go with them. So one of the cells we do, and we've actually really been working on this, and Michelle Hoffman, who is the MCAA staff person that oversees the Career Development Committee, she's done a really nice job, along with Andrew, who is the chair, and now Brian Helm, who oversees the foundation, working together to say, hey, we're investing all of this money, we're bringing these students to our conference, we need them to be working with us, and which is great that we're sitting here with people that are going to work for contractors. And I want to actually ask you, what helped make that decision for you to go that direction instead of going to work for an engineer or going to work for a GC?
Well, I'll just say this. Brad kind of got his influence on me early.
He was. Yeah, go ahead, tell him.
So there was a class that we had in high school, my senior year. I'm from a small town just east of Ames, Iowa, and we were told that there was an intro to engineering course, and a good friend of mine, Mike Stott at the time, he's an architect in Ames, and he was teaching the class. So my first thought was, perfect, I get to see my friend Mike for 5 times a week and learn about engineering.
And get college credit for it.
I did not know what I wanted to do with engineering at the time, and showed up.
Did you want to be an architect?
I did want to be an architect.
He was like, I was looking at him, I'm like, so, what do you think of the color salmon and chartreuse? And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, you better have an opinion on those. If you're going to be an architect. He goes, I don't really
How did it feel like watching paint dry?
Yeah. So anyway, so that's unusual, right? I mean, going all the way back to high school. But yeah, keep.
Brad essentially, said as soon as I told him I didn't really want to be an architect after finding out we just picked colors, he said, go into construction engineering, and you should also go into mechanical because we need mechanical. So having known Brad for quite a few years, by the time I got to Iowa State, it was an easy choice for me to move from just regular building emphasis in construction to mechanical. And since then, I've been getting involved with MCA and working for MCA.
Okay, hold on a second. Time out. Getting involved. Let me just. All right. So post COVID, our MCA chapter almost shut down. We literally had no members. That spring, that we had like 2 that went to convention, and they were really just in it for convention. They didn't even hold elections when they left. Because you couldn't really have meetings. So I went to Baker Group. The guy that runs the intern program, Russ Acton, with Baker Group, he was active as a student, and now he's at Baker Group running their internship program. And then I said, hey, we need to have an intern meeting. We need to lock the door, and someone needs to be president and treasurer. Right? Dan wasn't at that meeting, so he got voted president.
That's why you never miss a meeting, and you never go out the door to go to the bathroom when you're doing assignments.
Yep.
Right? So Dan was very instrumental in kind of getting the club off of life support. And then I will say, Jaden's our current president, and Olivia's our current vice president, and they've taken what Dan did and really expanded it. Grew the program to now where there's a lot of people that wanted to come to the convention, and we're like, okay, it's going to be the people that were officers and the people doing work and the people showing up. So
you said something there about having the Baker Group, and I have seen in all my travels of the country, and I've been to a lot of places giving presentations. Those with the strong local MCA chapter with a great group of local contractors that are heavily involved with the, bringing the students in, giving them internships, and then eventually hiring them. They're the ones that are the model that we are all looking to get to. And there are a lot of chapters in local areas around the country that are trying to do the same exact thing to mirror that because of what we talked about earlier, getting youth involved into our company. I mean, in my opinion, it's my job and anybody else in our office. Our true job is to find our replacements and mentor and lead them so that they can take our jobs when the time comes.
All right, Liv, did you want to talk about how you got?
Yeah, but just to add to that, like we obviously MCAA of Iowa is kind of like our local chapter, and they like honestly do so much for them. Like or they do so much for us. Like they're very interactive with us, which is awesome. I feel like a lot of times it can feel like big organizations are very unapproachable in a sense, but like. Again, Michelle, like I can email her and she'll respond within 10 minutes.
Yeah, she is on top of her game. She really is.
Yeah, so it's awesome, like just to kind of see that how much they value the students, but also like it's so small. It's huge, but it's so small. Same with the construction industry. Like it's a large industry, but it's so small. Like you could go anywhere and know anyone. So I think MCA in general does a really good job of being very like family and relationship oriented. But anyway, moving on from that, getting involved in mechanical, I kind of just did it as like it's only going to make me better kind of thing, where I was like, oh, if I at least learn the system and understand, I don't care if I use the degree necessarily, but coming to the conventions has made me understand and like there's so many opportunities, and now like after coming to this I'm like, oh, I kind of want to own my own company, and like just like there's so many options with it, which is so cool. And it's like rewarding to see how much other people do. And again, like we're walking around and it's a CEO of a huge company just comes up and talks to you and you don't even realize it, and then like we'll all like talk about it after, and then Brad's like, oh yeah, he like owns this company, and it's crazy.
And you're correct. There's 2,300 people I think here this year totally, and it's an entire mix of the CEOs and the owners of their companies. Go out into that exhibit. I just saw Marcus I'll use them as an example. Marcus from Vega. Mm-hmm. He's the CEO of them worldwide. He goes back and forth between Germany and Pennsylvania. Actually lives not far from me in Pennsylvania, but he's here himself.
Yeah,
like the main people, the owners of the Sloan Valve Company, the Allen brothers, they're here. This is an opportunity for all of you to go up, say hello, get a card off them, and the job opportunities anywhere in the country. It's amazing, and not only in the country, in the world, because a lot of these people have manufacturing plants all over the world.
Right. Jaden, do you want to talk about how you got into mechanical, in construction?
Yeah. I started off being a mechanical engineering student, and after about 2 to 3 semesters, I didn't really like what I was learning and couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I had some friends in construction engineering, so they were working on one of Brad's 241 labs, and I went in there, hung out with them, and they kind of showed me the ropes a little bit, and I ended up switching my major, and then I was in the same boat as Liv, which is like I don't want to limit myself. Then being fortunate in getting the DeWalt Patriot Scholarship last year, and seeing how big this industry really is, it just really opened my eyes to the career opportunities and being part of something greater.
What we do is, and I've been blessed and really fortunate. I started out, as a first year apprentice in the Steamfitters program in Philadelphia, and to go out and watch these buildings being built. And what we are doing, the MEPs of the buildings, I mean, they are the heart and the blood vessels of that building, of the body, and the interactions and the systems that we install, and the intricacies of the systems and what they do. You go do a hospital job, right, or a research facility. It's not just dumping cold air to air condition people. It's a combination of humidity control, temperature control, static pressures. It's amazing what we do, and the opportunity for you all to be with a contractor to go out to the job sites and see all this is fantastic. And I would encourage you, as you get those jobs, to try and get out on site as much as possible. Go find a tradesperson, right? Male, female, foreman, and really go buy them coffee or a couple donuts and ask them if you can stop by the job and spend some time with them. They will take immense pride in walking you around and showing you what they are building. And it's going to show you, it's going to take it from those BIM models, right? And the coordination process to actually seeing it going installed, and learning that and watching it go in is invaluable. It's unbelievable.
Go ahead, Lou.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So, I was fortunate enough to intern last summer with a general contractor, but literally like the most, I guess, influential people on that job site. I worked with the trades all day long. Like I was in the trenches with them, like side by side. They were setting me up with my own workstation, everything. And like, that's where honestly the most like growth and learning came from. But it's super cool. Like they truly do really want to teach you and like have you understand, because at the end of the day, like what we do and like the way we sequence work and the way we set up a job site ultimately like impacts their productivity. So understanding where they're coming from and also like sitting there and learning and listening to what they have to say makes you look at the way the building is built like way differently, which is super cool. And I think that's like such an undervalued thing, just like being out in the field with the trades, because a lot of people are just like, yeah, well, I'm just doing design, so whatever. But when you actually go out in the field and you see and you understand the way a building's built, it like completely changed your mindset.
The skilled tradespeople that work with us, the pipe fitters, the plumbers, the sprinkler fitters, the training and that even that I went through, the United Association, which we're blessed to be, get our labor pool from, they are, and I'm biased, but I'm also being honest, and I think I have the number right here. They spend, self-funded, spend over $300 million a year in training, and it starts in all the local apprenticeships, but they have what's called ITP Week, which is out in Ann Arbor, Michigan, every year in August. They've been doing it for 50, 60 years, and it's the Trainers Week. And I actually go out there. They've taken the approach. They bring in some young apprentices that are going to be future instructors, and they bring them out there and let them spend time out there watching the trainers get trained. They have an industry day on Wednesday, but the reason I'm saying all of this is the training that the UA does under General President Mark McManus's leadership, and Ray Boyd, who's the director of training. They do an unbelievable job of training, which is why when you go walk those job sites with these people, they know what they're doing. They are the best of the best, and they want to do nothing more than share their knowledge and their experience with you.
You know what? One thing that I've noticed, so I started as a consulting engineer in 1997, and for it's very difficult to explain this, but let's just use the. Right now, the vendors, supply, what we call it, convention, part of the convention.
The manufacturer
supplier show. You walk around there and you look at all these, all the vendors, and it has changed so much since I started coming. Look at it. It's so complicated now. It's technology, it's labor saving things. It's, you look at the amount of change that has happened in mechanical since I started and compare that to like steel or concrete or masonry. Those trades aren't changing near as much.
No, not even close.
It's not. Yeah,
you're right.
It's
You walk through that exhibit, and years ago it was a bunch of pipe valves and fittings manufacturers, some joining methods, some tool people. Right now, you go through there, and I think there's 115 or 120 booths out there, and it's loaded with software companies, technology, Faro scanners and Trimble machines. I'm using them as an example, giving them all a plug. But the reality is, it's so much more than just pipe valves and fittings fittings and tools now, and it's become a huge part of how we do business. So, the training, we talked about the training. It's imperative that we now train our people, and the UA adapts their training to these new technologies, which, by the way, are coming at our industry's changed more in the past 5 years than it did in the previous 40. And how we build our jobs.
Well, I remember in early 2000s when Viega came out with ProPress, and there was a lot of people, in myself was included. Do you trust this new? I don't know about this. This is looking shady.
Yep.
And I remember I had a contractor in for a laboratory in Ankeny, Iowa. They're like, hey, we want to use this new ProPress thing, and I was like, I don't know about this, and they're like, here, tell you what. Because I was remodeling my house at the time. They're like, we'll loan you the tool for a weekend. Go take it home. You try it, and then we'll just sell you. It would have been unethical for them to give me stuff, but they loaned me the tool, and I bought fittings from them. And like within a half hour, I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. I was because I can solder. Not well though, I mean, I am not. No one's hiring me to do plumbing, but then, so I'm using this tool, and I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. I gave it to my wife, explained for her how to use it. I'm like, give me an hour, and I'm like cutting and fitting stuff, and then she starts doing the ProPress behind me, and then catches me in like 15 minutes. I mean, it's residential, right? I mean, it's not a big house, and I'm not that fast.
You're not going to hurt much if it's a little bit of a leak there.
Yeah, but no, it was like I was sold. And, for the time, that was a shock, fairly shocking, and a lot of old schoolers were like, man, I don't know about this. Do we trust this thing? And then now, how many competitors do they have? And, how many of those labor-saving things, which each time a new labor-saving thing comes out, it gets more and more and more technologically advanced, and it requires a higher and higher skill set. Fewer people, but you know what? We've got fewer people.
Well, we do, but we're also growing tremendously because of these mega jobs.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
you
not
need to bring them
people.
in. Correct,
Yeah.
but you still need to bring them in and train them.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the stuff we're talking about here, you all are going to be dealing with as you move forward in your careers. If you end up either as a project exec or a project manager, or you're going to be a project engineer, you're going to be the ones having to either sell an engineering firm or an end user on these new products, and that's going to be a tremendous opportunity for you to go in, because you're going to, he just mentioned some people. There's still some people in some of the old cities, where I live in Philadelphia, that refuse. They want everything to be soldered, brazed, or welded. They will not allow any mechanical joining methods, and that's going to be something that you all are going to be learning and be right at your fingertips to try to sell those products, to stay ahead of where we are technology, where our systems are, how the joining methods are. So that's going to be a great opportunity for you as well.
Well, and speaking of technology, just look where the problems that they're going to have to solve that we kind of kick down the road. And I'm going to use energy code. I mean, it's just going to get more and more and more restrictive, more and more difficult. I mean, as the new energy codes roll out, where is the bulk of this extra efficiency got to come from? I mean, you can only insulate a wall so much, I mean, glass is an important thing, sure, but after that, it's all got to be mechanical, and just complying with the new regulation. I mean, I predict, I don't know if this is true or not, okay, but I predict dealing with the energy code will probably be the biggest issue of their careers.
Well, you remember 10 years ago, everybody, and maybe even a little further, everybody was, I'm going to go get LEED certified, and had it in their signature block. I'm LEED AP, DZ, GV, FV, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I remember back then, one of the guys that was involved with MCA, Tim Wentz, said, in the future, they're not going to have that anymore, because they're just going to start to adapt all of those building codes and all of those efficiency codes into their regular design. And boy, he was spot on.
Yeah, no, it was. Well, it has to actually. Here, one of my friends in the design world used to sit on ASHRAE 90.1's committee for writing it.
I think Tim was the president of ASHRAE for
he was. Yeah. So anyway, he was telling me, we were having this discussion, and he's like, well, okay, the feds came to us, and I don't know if this is I don't know how official this story is, but it's a convention, right? And
it's about storytelling.
Exactly. So he's like, the feds came to us and basically told ASHRAE, by 2030, your code needs to have as the code minimum building a net zero building. And they're like, what if we don't want to? And they're like, well, then we're the feds. We'll just write our own. We'll just make it part of the Department of Energy, write our own code, and you guys will be out of the code. You'll have no control over it at all. And they're like, oh, okay. So that's their goal. Are they going to get there? I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be it. But I know that is long term. That's the direction that buildings are headed.
And to the point of what we're talking about, just change in how buildings are designed and how they run, how they operate, and how we are trained to do the installations, to go back and service the equipment, right? Because that's a huge leg of what we do as well as mechanical contractors. A lot of us have these huge service departments that maintain a lot of the equipment, which has to happen for it to be efficient, for it to be saving energy. And then that's a whole different other training aspect of what the United Association does.
Well, Jaden, weren't you in the service department at Baker Group?
Yeah, I was. I learned a lot about the intricacies of each system, and a big struggle is obviously as refrigerants change over the year, but also the older equipment. I can replace this part, but it's only going to last a couple more years. You're better off spending the $200,000 on a brand new equipment that's already going to be adopted, and it's going to save you money long term.
You're absolutely correct. It's not, and you hit the nail on the head right there. The changing of we talk about about the refrigerant, right, and what it does to our air, right, and that's changing all of the time. And you go to put replacement parts in or replacement systems, and you have to rechange the entire piping system because of what refrigerant has been through there, and pulling systems out, putting new ones in. It's not like it used to be. No,
it's not. That is absolutely true. And now, when I in my career in the consulting world, we might go into a building, and maybe that chiller's 30 years old, and we're like, yep, running good, And that was fairly, or a boiler. Remember, how many boilers I'm sure in Philadelphia, how many boilers where you were like 70, 80 years old? It started with coal, got converted to fuel oil, then it got converted to natural gas. And it's like, yep, still running.
We've seen situations where we'll go into a really old facility, a big old facility, and the boilers are as big as this room, and we're putting in a plate frame heat exchanger to replace it that's no bigger than this table. It's amazing. It's really amazing.
But once again, but that boiler was good.
Absolutely.
For 80 years.
Yeah. Probably not the most efficient thing going.
Well, no. It's like, if you got to ask, it didn't. But back when we were shoveling coal, you're like, we'll just buy more coal.
Yeah.
But the point is that technology that was good for 80 years old, for 80 years, now it's not going to be good for 20. Don't get me wrong. The equipment might last 20, but by the time that 20 years is up, it's like, wow, that is ancient, and now we are way down the road on newer stuff.
Nope, absolutely.
So, I guess all the good parts about that for my students here and the students that I bring, and I say this in class all the time, but this is the beauty of convention. I say stuff all the time, and being an instructor is a lot like being a dad. You say stuff and people roll their eyes at you. And then later they're like, oh my God, you really did know what you were talking about.
There's a reason they say the older you get, the smarter your parents get, right?
But what I'm, what I'm telling students and why we've got a really good thriving mechanical part of our major is I'm like, there is tons of opportunity. And what's beautiful about convention is that I say this, they show up here, and they go back, they tell your friends, did you know there's tons of opportunity in this? And that's how that works the best than anything. I can sit here and say the same crap day after day after day, but them telling a friend is so much more impactful, and that's why convention for me is such a big deal.
This convention is amazing. A lot. I want to keep talking about the manufacturers and suppliers, and I've heard over the years, because I sat with them in these meetings, that they said if their bosses said they're going to make the decision that they could only budget to go to one event a year and be part of one group, 95% of them out there would say, we'll go to MCAA. Make sure you go to MCAA. I mean, think about what you've seen here, right? The networking, the people here, and also, I'm going to give a little plug here: the food and beverage and the entertainment. I'm a little biased because my wife
tier.
Melissa, who's not only beautiful, but she puts this program on with a great staff from MCAA.
We all need we need to like go thank her. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, and thank Tim. Tim Brinks, our CEO, and Tim and I have been friends since we actually both got on the board of directors nationally back in 2003. I still look much younger than Tim, by the way.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, you did absolutely.
Again, it's the shaving thing.
It's a shave, yeah.
It's a shaving thing.
See, you don't age when you're bald. Nobody notices.
Exactly. But I love this is I think my 27th year coming here, and it's great seeing people and getting to know people. And now I'm here with my 30-year-old son who went through the apprenticeship, and he's our director of pre-construction, taking him around, letting him, because let's face it, he's the next generation. You all are the next generation of leaders in our industries with our companies in this association, and hopefully you're back here as an attendee with a contractor for many, many years to come.
All right, so before we wrap up, did you guys have any questions for Mark? Get another old guy's opinion other than mine.
And by the way, I do before we sign off. I want to thank you because what you're doing and pushing them in this direction. Kudos to you, but I think you also see, and they'll see, for people after them, the value of getting in with such a great group of contractors and manufacturers and just great people. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. But it's a pretty easy sell. All right.
So I just wanted to start. My question to you is, what can we as new members in the industry do to kind of set the stage or lay a baseline for working with the field, working with other project managers? Personally, for me, when I've gone out on an internship and I've had interactions with the field, it's a 50-50 toss-up of, whether or not, they have the welcoming idea that you're here to help.
They don't have a warm fuzzy for you.
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
They're very cautious, to put it politely. But some of them are very much like, all you did was go to college for 4 years and read out of a book. Don't tell me how to do my job. And then others are like, we want you here. We want you to be part of this solution.
So you know what you say to them if they say that to you? You say, you're absolutely correct, and I'm asking you to mentor me, right? If you ask somebody to mentor and lead you, if they don't do that, then go find somebody else, because there's a lot of great people in this industry. But I know exactly what you're talking. Listen, I first day I got on the job as an apprentice, the very first day as a 20-year-old, right? The guy I met said to me, I'm not going to use the bad word, but he said to me, listen up, kid. He said, you are lower than whale poop, number one. And he said, you're to be seen and not heard, and you're here to learn this trade so that you can pay for my pension and my health care. That was my first day on the job.
Welcome. Yeah. Well,
that said, he became one of my first mentors on how to do things, how to learn, how to communicate, because there are some incredibly talented. You talked about being out on a job site, walking to jobs with them. There are some really talented people. And a craftsperson, a steam fitter, pipe fitter, plumber, sprinkler fitter, service technician, they are really, really proud of what they do, because they're really good at it. They're trained really well. And I'm telling you, 95% of the people you're going to run into are going to want to share learning experiences and try to mentor and educate you. And they will. And you should glue yourself to a person like that. Pick out the right person. Again, go treat them for coffee. Pick their brain, because they really, really enjoy that. That's something that they love, sharing what they do.
Right. Jaden, Olivia, you guys got questions here?
I guess just like kind of to piggyback off of that, like it's like super rewarding to hear that people who don't graduate with a college degree like are still able to be very successful, number one, and number two, like that goes to show you that there's just a lot to be learned in life, and it's kind of just like experience based again, but it's like super awesome. Just I can go out on a job site and learn stuff from people that have been there their whole lives and they're doing well for themselves, and don't, like, college isn't for everyone. So
It's not. I actually, I went through the apprenticeship. At 30 years old, I took the $2,000 I had to my name. I bought a computer and a fax machine and 2 folding tables.
The fax machine, awesome.
I started Westchester Mechanical out of my basement, and it was Westchester Mechanical because that's the town where the house was. And I even had Suite B on my business card.
Sweet B.
I swear.
That is so awesome. Sweet.
You go back and look it up. It is. It's
man,
hysterical.
that's
So,
awesome.
Yeah, no, you don't need it. You don't need a college degree, but what you do need is you need to have good people around you, and you need to have a network of people that you can rely on and learn from. And that's what MCAA and the UA has been to me. I've been absolutely blessed, which is one of the reasons that I like to give back so much, and I travel and I give presentations all the time. And I tell people in them presentations all the time, you don't need a title to be a leader. Or a mentor, right? The greatest leaders and the greatest mentors, or when they leave the room or they leave this planet, you always say, man, I really liked how that person made me feel. And you don't need a title to do that.
No.
You've offered a lot of good and really good professional advice. What advice would you offer personally, kind of growing up in this industry and moving throughout?
Whoa, that's a great question. As you're younger, and we talked a little bit, like thinking your parents were not smart, right? You think you know everything. When I was with a company in Philadelphia, at Herman Goldner Company, I thought I was making them $1 million a year all by myself as a 27-year-old foreman, and boy, what an idiot I was. That personal growth of realizing that there's more to this industry and there's more to life than you. It's about, again, I'll go back to what I just said. How do you make other people feel? And that's a maturation thing that will come over time. Even as a father, I've the spread on my children. I have 3 boys, and from the oldest to the youngest is 10 years. And I don't want to say I was a different father.
Yeah, you are.
But I definitely
it's okay.
was
Yeah.
different. I had different, I'm going to say, teaching moments a little later. You start to look at things a little bit different as you get a little older. And for me personally, being where I'm at, my growth, to your point, has been my acceptance and what I know is luck and blessing that I go around the country and I have a message to deliver that I feel and people feel can help them both personally and professionally. I'm absolutely blessed that I'm in that position. And if you ask that kid 30 years ago that started this company, if I ever thought I'd be out teaching classes on leadership and real cost of a man hour and everything, I would have told them you need to go take a drug test because right. But it comes over time to answer your question, and it goes. Remember this: don't ever worry about what your title is because you're the only person that cares what your title is. Nobody else cares. They care how you made them feel, and you don't need a title to do that. So if you can get to that point sooner in life. Boy, it's really, really rewarding for you personally and spiritually. It really is.
Would you say that being a father and having sons has changed your style of leadership with owning your own company?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And so, I come from an Italian mother and, about family, right? And in Philadelphia, Italian families and the family dinners are huge. And I've incorporated that into when I say, you hear me say our business. It's my business, but it's every day. Nobody works for me. They work with me. And if you go about that approach and you start to have people come to you for what early on were business solutions to now later in life to personal solutions, that's just growth that comes over time. And if you accept that and actually feel lucky that people want to come talk to me to see if I can help them through something, where obviously we talk about the mental health issues and crisis that we have in the trades, which is significant. I think the only one that's worse than the construction trades is the military. There's people out there, you're supposed to be this tough, rugged, construction worker and keep everything in. And the cold, hard reality is that, life happens and people have a lot of issues that they're dealing with. And as much as you want to say, hey, man, check your issues at the door, doesn't always work that way because you could be working in a situation where you're rigging heavy equipment or you're working at a high height. And if you're not focused in and dialed in on what you need to be doing, you can not only hurt yourself, but you can hurt a lot of people around you, which is why it's important that you make sure that the person next to you love the brother and your sister next to you as a person first and make sure that you know that they are okay and offer that helping hand. And that's something you may not see right now, but the further you get along in life, when someone touches you on the shoulder and you realize what they did for you, you're going to pay it forward and you're going to start to do it more, which is where I'm at in my life right now. And I couldn't be happier and I couldn't feel more fortunate to be in that position.
Yeah, Brad and I, it's kind of interesting to think that we go for the military construction, the two industries that have the highest mental health and suicide rate, and just kind of very unique to us that we get the opportunity to take that challenge as a leader and to love first.
Yeah, listen, faith. People are more faithful than others, but the reality is one of the best things you can do is love your brother and sister, and that's everybody. That's just not your blood brothers and sisters. Love the people around you and enjoy their company and have fun with them. We have so much fun. If a camera crew ever, if you did a podcast in our office, first of all, a lawyer would have a field day with it, but we have so much fun in our office. I remember very early on when I knew we were doing things right, when one of the guys was really sick and he came into the office and said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Let's stay home and be bored, or come here and enjoy this." Right? And I knew right then, hey, we're doing something right here. And it all boils down to the people. And you got to have the right people, and they got to be led properly and start to absorb that. You hear culture. It's a very important word, and it's true. Company culture starts at the top, but then your key people start to adopt that, and they start to push that culture, and it just goes on and on and on and on. That's what some of the most successful companies out there, any organization, has a great culture.
All right. Any last thoughts here before we wrapped up? I mean, we've taken almost an hour of your time now.
I'm honored to be here. I appreciate you asking me, and I love talking about this industry. It's been great to me from a kid that grew up in a suburb of Philadelphia, right on the border, in a little town called Upper Darby. High school, grew up in a twin home, and both parents worked, and where I came from, and no college degree, to starting this company to roughly doing $50 million worth of revenue every year, and I get up every morning and I have the ability to affect 120 families. Is an incredible thing that I take very, very seriously. So anytime I can come here and talk about this industry and share and spend time with great people that hopefully will be in my seat someday, and you will be, it's worth every minute to me. Well,
that is one thing that I definitely enjoy about my job. All right, leaving the consulting world, you don't do that and go to teaching for the money and the pay. But what is great about it is that you get to watch and help, in a very critical time in young people's lives. You get to be like, okay, there's a lot of opportunity this way, and you just like to give them a little bit of nudge in that direction, and you want them to do it themselves. They got to own it. They got to learn themselves. But if you can give them just a little bit of help and a little bit of push in one direction, it's great watching them with all the opportunity, because this did not exist. MCA was not a thing when I was a student. We only had a couple of mechanical emphasis in the entire program.
Well, you guys used to chisel on the walls for your writing.
There was that. Yes, there's that.
Brought their stone tablets to
class. The stone tablets.
Yeah. Listen, then they use Google Chrome now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that is true. I was part of the first students at Iowa State to get an actual email address. Right. I am the original B Perkins at iastate.edu. Right, but back then, it's like we got email, and you're like, "What do we do with this?" I don't know. You should check that at least. You should at least once a week. You should check your email just in case somebody sent you something and they didn't. Yep. But oh god, you know what though? No social media, no cell phones, and no email, and great country music. That's the '90s were awesome. So okay, all right. Well, on that.
Before I guess we end, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And again, for us, it's a different perspective for sure, because we're used to kind of talking to people who are college educated and are more in the design aspect. But it's super cool and interesting to see a different perspective, a different side of the industry. It's one that we're not necessarily exposed to very often. So it's been super cool to hear what you do and how you've kind of done for yourself, and the way you view us in the industry, and the way we view you guys in the industry, and how we can both help each other be more successful. So yeah,
Absolutely.
been
No,
awesome.
my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up, I guess, for the on-the-road version of Office Hours. If my cameras and sound system are working, maybe in a few weeks I'll put this up. I might try to get it a little bit faster, since make it closer to convention. But Mark, thank you so much for coming by and talking with us.
My pleasure. Blessings to all you guys.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.